Moody's Anecdotes and Illustrations. Related in his revival work by the great evangelist, Dwight, L. Moody. This video contained various anecdotes. First anecdote, the dying child. A lady had a little child that was dying. She thought it was resting sweetly in the arms of Jesus. She went into the room and the child asked her, "What are those clouds and mountains that I see so dark?" "Why, Eddie," said his mother, "there are no clouds or mountains, you must be mistaken." "Why, yes, I see great mountains and dark clouds, and I want you to take me in your arms and carry me over the mountains." "Ah," said the mother. "You must pray to Jesus, he will carry you safely, and my friends, the sainted mother, the praying wife, may come to your bedside and wipe the damp sweat from your brow, but they cannot carry you over the Jordan when the hour comes." This mother said to her little boy, "I am afraid that it is unbelief that is coming upon you, my child, and you must pray that the Lord will be with you in your dying moments." And the two prayed, but the boy turned to her and said, "Don't you hear the angels, mother, over the mountains, and calling for me, and I cannot go? My dear boy, pray to Jesus, and he will come, he only can take you." And the boy closed his eyes and prayed, and when he opened them a heavenly smile overspread his face as he said, "Jesus has come to carry me over the mountains." Dear sinner, Jesus is ready and willing to carry you over the mountains of sin, and over your mountains of unbelief. Give yourself to him. Next anecdote, the finest looking little boy Mr. Moody ever saw. A few years ago I was in a town down in our state, the guest of a family that had a little boy about 13 years, who did not bear the family name, yet was treated like the rest. Every night when he retired, the lady of the home kissed him, and treated him in every respect, like all the other children. I said to the lady of the house, "I don't understand it. I think he was the finest looking boy I have ever seen." I said to her, "I don't understand it." She says, "I want to tell you about that boy. That boy is the son of a missionary. His father and mother were missionaries in India, but they found they had got to bring their children back to this country to educate them. So they gave up their mission field and came back to educate their children and to find some missionary work to do in this country. But they were not prospered here as they had been in India, and the father said, 'I will go back to India,' and the mother said, 'If God has called you to go, I am sure it will be my duty to go and my privilege to go, and I will go with you.' The father said, 'You have never been separated from the children, and it will be hard for you to be separated from them, perhaps you had better stay and take care of them.' But after prayer they decided to leave their children to be educated, and they left for India. This lady heard of it, and sent a letter to the parents, in which she stated if they left one child at her house she would treat it like one of her own children. She said the mother came and spent a few days at her house, and being satisfied that her boy would receive proper care, consented to leave him, and the night before she was to leave him, the missionary said to the Western lady, 'I want to leave my boy tomorrow morning without a tear,' said she, 'I may never see him again,' but she didn't want him to think she was weeping for anything she was doing for the master. The lady said to herself, 'She won't leave that boy without a tear.' But the next day when the carriage drove up to the door, the lady went upstairs and she heard the mother in prayer, crying, 'Oh God, give me strength for this hour. Help me to go away from my boy without a tear.' When she came down there was a smile upon her face. She hugged him and she kissed him, but she smiled as she did it. She gave up all her 5 or 6 children without shedding a tear, went back to India, and in about a year there came a voice, 'Come up hither.' Do you think she would be a stranger in the Lord's world? Don't you think she will be known there as a mother that loved her child? Next anecdote, Emma, this is Papa's friend. A gentleman one day came to my office, for the purpose of getting me interested in a young man, who had just got out of the penitentiary. He said the gentleman, "He don't want to go to the office, but I want your permission to bring him in, and introduce him." I said, "Bring him in." The gentleman brought him in and introduced him, and I took him by the hand, and told him I was glad to see him. I invited him up to my house, and when I took him into my family, I introduced him as a friend. When my little daughter came into the room, I said, "Emma, this is Papa's friend." And she went up and kissed him, and the man sobbed aloud. After the child left the room, I said, "What is the matter?" "Oh sir," he said, "I have not had a kiss for years. The last kiss I had was from my mother, and she was dying. I thought I would never have another one again." His heart was broken. Next anecdote, Moody's little Emma. I remember one time, my little girl was teasing her mother to get her a muff, and so one day her mother brought a muff home, and, Although it was storming, she very naturally wanted to go out, in order to try her new muff. So she tried to get me to go out with her. I went out with her, and I said, "Emma, better let me take your hand." She wanted to keep her hands in her muff, and so she refused to take my hand. Well, by and by she came to an icy place, her little feet slipped, and down she went. When I helped her up she said, "Papa, you may give me your little finger." "No, my daughter, just take my hand." "No, no, Papa, give me your little finger." Well, I gave my finger to her, and for a little way she got along nicely, but pretty soon, we came to another icy place, and again she fell. This time she hurt herself a little, and she said, "Papa, give me your hand," and I gave her my hand, and closed my fingers about her wrist, and held her up so that she could not fall. Just so God is our keeper. He is wiser than we. Thanks.